Greetings and welcome. Thank you for joining us live here at RPMMORadio. I'll be your host, Ashton Phoenix, and along with me today, as always, is Sib.
Hello.
And Jazz.
Hello.
Yeah, appreciate you guys joining us today. Today we're going to be going over just a few things here on trolling. Got a +5 to that. A couple of our news articles, and of course you can always, if you're watching us live at twitch.tv/RPMMORadio, or after the fact, if you want to hear us later at any time to your convenience, car rides, trips, boats, space shuttles, just visit us at RPMMORadio at either iTunes, Twitch, Stitcher, Podbean, any of those places. You can download us at your convenience and listen whenever you feel like. So there's plenty of ways to get around, and of course our website at www.rpmmoradio.com. So let's see, what have we been up to in the world of our RPing today in the last 2 weeks? Any takers? Anyone? Bueller?
Go for it, Jazz.
Okay, well, I have ventured into roleplay more actively in ESO. Started going to a place called the Withered something. It's a tavern.
Sounds
I know,
like something
great,
you
right?
need a cream for.
I know, right? So that's been fun, and I've also been leveling like mad. So I have one tune that's almost to 160 max champion points, and the other one is rapidly moving up the chart.
Mm-hmm.
So all things good.
50% XP ends on the 3rd.
Yeah, so I've been doing that as fast as possible and enjoying myself. I don't normally care about double XP. I just do the quest, but it is nice that there's a bit of a boost right now.
Yeah, it's always good to take advantage of that when you can. I've been doing the same thing, but we'll get to me after Sib.
You know you don't have to go last. You could go
I
next.
do have to go last. You know why? Because I'm a gentleman and a scholar.
Oh.
Or I'm
That's
a
that one.
or I'm a human. I'm a human being. I'm
a
that.
human being?
A human being.
Okay, me next. Just doing some RPing in ESO. I haven't logged into Final Fantasy much, which I need to do that more. I'm a completionist. Every place I visit, I have to complete every quest in there before I can move on. And I think right now I'm in Stormhaven, but I also take breaks so I can do the RP thing. But yeah, that's about all I've been up to.
Yeah, it has been actually kind of nice to do that. It's one thing that I don't understand. I love the roleplay because it helps me keep from getting, as much as I love doing the quests and stuff like that, man, does that get boring after a while without something to break up the monotony.
It does.
Yeah. So It's always nice. I always enjoy that too. But I've been like you guys. I've also been playing with you in ESO because the double experience thing, just trying to get to 50. And of course, roleplayed with Jazz a little bit one day, or 2 days. Can't remember, but that was fun. Just getting our characters to know each other since I've not been in there as long as the other two.
Yeah.
And I even took a break from Mass Effect Andromeda, which I've also been playing, because it's got an amazing story, even though I know there's a lot of people digging and bitching and moaning about it, but a few, substandard animations don't really take away from the narrative of it. So I've had a lot of fun with it. So you can go pound sand. And besides that, they're going to fix it anyway, and here a month and a half from now, nobody will even remember that it was janky. So, I mean, how many people, almost nobody remembers the first couple months of Star Wars Galaxies, where there were somebody had created a Church of the Floating Shrubbery, because there were certain shrubs that would just float like 10 feet above the ground. But very few people remember that because they fixed it really quick, which is the great thing about MMOs and games in general. So, but yeah, It's been had a good time. I did let's see, Final Fantasy. That was exams week in our garden guild, and had one student that had to do the exam. I cheesed out, of course, but it was still a lot of fun. Did the take some bells from his belt Naruto route, and by whatever combat means, and it was actually someone, our very own Tina, that's been with us forever in Silver Circle and things like that, and she did good job outsmarting me. So didn't do the combat route, just went with he was trying to motivate her to use her magic and stuff like that, and she gets all pouty and just kind of act like she stormed off, and as soon as he came out the door, she was standing right there and just yanked him from his belt. So, yeah, I was happy. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Good.
So we're giving a shout out to Tina Nuzzlepurr.
Nuzzlepurr.
Yes.
Or
she's a great role player, and I always have a lot of fun.
Razor.
Yeah.
Razor something or other, I think, in ESO, but I'm terrible with those stupid @@ something or other's names. I can never keep who's who straight.
Those
and what.
get difficult because you have the, like, mine is @here's hoping, and then I have my character's name. So that always gets me every time. I'm like, okay, who is this person?
And then a half dozen alts on top of that name.
Yeah. It gets fun
Jazz
trying
doesn't
to
know
figure out.
anything about alts.
Oh no! Although I'm doing pretty good this far, I only have 2. So that's
far.
probably a record so far. Yeah, I have like 5 planned total at the moment.
Figures.
One of each class is generally what I try to do, and it's not my fault that any of you there's like 20 something, and then you've got 8 races, just 18 races and 20. It's just impossible to try them all. So.
Yeah, that new Warden one, I'm curious to see on that in ESO when that comes out. And was it is it June?
June. I need to buy it soon.
Yeah, for the pre-order stuff. But yeah, the Warden.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of pet classes, and that's kind of what it looks like. But even
it is a pet class.
Throw it out there, and me and 100,000 other people all playing this exact same class all the time. So
I'll wait a while because I hate that
game. Yeah, but at least in that game, if you switch up the weapons, it changes kind of what you're doing too. So it's pretty open-ended. So all right, that's pretty good. But you guys want to hit your news? We're gonna do something different from here on out, or try to. Is instead of just having me ramble on about news articles I found or thought were interesting, we've decided we'll have each one of us pick something that we kind of think was, either roleplay or MMO newsworthy, or in the case of Sibs today, which just game worthy and awesome. It's not necessarily MMO related, but it is still. It's just too damn good not to do. I'm so proud. So we'll go ahead and have Jazz do her news report first.
Well, sadly, I can't pull up my report right now. But basically, the gist of it was that it was a poll for ESO by the Roleplay. I think the Roleplay. Not web, is a web, well, you would say website, forums and everything, asking about what race do you play most in 2017. It might have been sponsored by, I was planning on pulling it up and reading it, and I can't, so. But I think it has a virus on it, so I can't touch it right now. But
beware.
Yes, I was like, what? Oh, crap. But basically, I was really surprised because role players always are rather diverse, but they do tend towards the more human races. And it's really nice to see all the hard work that goes into making some of the beast races in most games goes often ignored. And in this case, it hasn't been, that there's just as many Khajiit and Argonians as there are elves and humans. It was a nice... And most games spend more time, in my opinion, developing the lore of the beast races than they do of the regular ones. So,
well, yeah, elves and humans are just so. I mean, they're fucking elves and humans.
Yeah.
They're old. One's old and one dies really fast, but is somehow spunky and still diverse.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's nice to have these other races, and I usually avoid them for other reasons. But in this, yeah, exactly, because there's this element of what I used to call sticky role play that goes along with furry or scaly creatures, and I didn't like getting accosted for that particular type of RP.
Yeah.
So I just avoided those races, or I put in my profile, no bueno, leave me alone.
No bueno.
No ERP, not that that's always worked because that requires people to read.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's nice to see that people are venturing more into those, and not necessarily just because they can get their furry on, but that they can actually enjoy the lore that has been presented. And ESO does it, as it does everything lore.
Yeah,
fantastic job with the lore.
So with so many single player games and all that, it's just their lore is just ungodly deep. It's just it's a never-ending wellspring of something new to read and things in either a game or out of game or videos online. I was looking at lore on YouTube, just like, I wonder if I could catch up on some ESO lore. Yeah, I found it's like a 30 episode something or other at like 10 to 20 minutes a piece, and like, well,
I was like, there's a whole day of my life. Yeah, I don't have that kind of time, but I found those as well, and I have watched a few of them.
Yeah,
and they're fantastically done.
I've been doing doctor's appointments and taking my tablet and reading up on the lore, like different races I'm interested in playing. So I know there is a lot of it out there.
But yeah, it's definitely a good thing to see a game where they're it's not just the fluffy, pretty, cute, perky-breasted cat girls that everyone's playing. It's the actual, and I mean, it can't hurt an ESO too that each one of them has a really fun and unique way of speaking. It's just with the way the Khajiit talk with the this one has wares if you have coin.
I think of Aladdin.
Yeah.
Yes. Some of them sound just like Aladdin. It's so funny.
It sounds like the Robin Williams character at the beginning is like, even makes Julian fries will not break. It broke.
I like the little Tupperware one.
Yes.
It works. Yeah.
It works. But yeah.
But yeah, and that's Jazz. Your thing is why I made an orc in ESO to play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I wouldn't get approached.
Hasn't
worked.
I warned her.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? I'm an orc. I've got tusks. Okay. Seriously.
Apparently, that is not a deterrent. So
attractive. You've got tusks. But yeah, but I've enjoyed playing an orc.
All right, Sib, you want to hit us up on your fun little story, because mine leads into our main topic, which will be trolling. But so we'll hit Sib's.
Okay, mine comes from Game Zone, and I heard it actually on the morning radio show on the way to work, and I loved it. I thought it was just the cutest little thing. But I can't get it to work. Hold on. Okay. Anyway, this little girl goes to school. Her parents get contacted, and she gets in trouble for calling a little boy that stole her pencil, a Hanzo main. And I thought it was hilarious because, let's see, the story goes, after having her pencil taken away by another student, a young girl called the other student a Hanzo main and was written up by her teacher. That's awful. But for those that don't know what that means, Hanzo is a character in Overwatch who gets a bad rap because he isn't really used by players
with any skill.
Yeah, and who like to work with their team. Overwatch is a team game, and so Hanzo is seen as a selfish character. So apparently this little girl has apparently seen it or, played Overwatch with her dad. Anyway, so she referred to the little boy as Hanzo main. Teacher didn't know what it meant. And so the message got sent home saying that what she did, and it was clearly meant as an insult. And basically, they didn't know it meant he was selfish for taking her pencil. So, and I mean, who doesn't want to walk into work and call somebody a bad name? I mean, because she could have clearly went really bad.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
I just love that she got suspended for calling somebody a character as like a Hanzo main when she could have gotten the same exact thing if she just called him a dickhead. And
Yeah.
It's the exact same punishment, but one is
I mean-
slightly worse than the other. But since they didn't know it, they're like, this is insulting and we don't allow bullying even though he started it.
Yeah.
and, I mean, I want this little girl. I want her to be mine.
Yeah, I think the
I
best
mean, I
part
love
was
it.
the parents' response. Did you
Yeah.
have that there?
Yeah, I do. The parents tweeted out right after it happened. My daughter got in trouble for calling a kid who stole her pencil a Hanzo main. My husband and I have been laughing for half an hour. And then actually Overwatch tweeted out after the mom did. It said, while we don't support name calling and do support Hanzo mains, we love where your daughter's head was at. So I think it's cool that they just responded.
Mhm.
That is really neat. But yeah, so I got that from Game Zone.
Yeah,
And I'm not a very good reporter, so.
it's okay. We'll learn you. We'll learn you because Jazz and I have both had literally 4 episodes of training to do it ourselves.
I know,
So,
you guys are like pros.
yeah, the same amount.
When I-
The same
when I
exact
grow up-
amount you have.
When I grow up, I want to be like you guys.
Yeah, well, it's good to keep that bar nice and low there, hon.
Okay.
All right. So, mine is actually I'm gonna read it off of from massivelyop.com. It was all over the place though, but this was actually directly for a change in response to a roleplay incident that happened in Black Desert Online. Some of you may know that game. It was not bad and it's apparently getting better. But somebody was trolling the role players, and they of course did what they do. They tried to probably tried to ignore them, then tried to tell them to go away, then ignore them again, and then did what ends up happening and has everybody around them petition and have a GM. And of course this was lead GM Rotaz was the one that responded. And it said that he did repeatedly target and strike down citizens incorrectly, innocently engaged in roleplay, because there are some places that have PvP. Exclaimed to the world, "Death to our peers," an inexcusable amount of time, according to him, and provoked and harassed on numerous occasions, leaving them unable to perform their activities. Basically, he was just being a giant douchebag, which... and it was, let's see.
So he was basically
Kimochi
being
of House Dremlock was the guy's name that was doing this. So, in a really fascinating twist of events, which most GMs, I've never heard in all my years of doing this, a GM saying, all right, so here's the deal. You're going to get in trouble and be banned, or you can write it must be exactly 501 words. No more, no less. Exactly 501, which I thought was such a funny
That's a nice touch.
Yeah. And he has 24 hours of the time of this decree to submit the story. And should he engage, of course, and if he engages in further harassment after that, he's, screwed anyway. So this guy actually did it. He wrote an RP story. The twist is, though, he did it as erotic roleplay.
And I think that's somehow fitting, personally.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it is. Yeah, and in BDO, their characters, I would not call them ugly specifically. Perky and svelte, perhaps, but not ugly.
They're very pretty characters.
But the great part is he did manage to do it and did it, and you know, just for, I don't know, say the sake of argument, here's a piece of what he actually wrote, just because it's just that funny. A warm summer breeze gently caressed Komochi's exposed breast as she lay tranquilly in a meadow nestled among Camisliv's towering trees. Her chocolate silhouette, a stark contrast to the lush green forest, accentuated further by her state of complete undress. It was unusually warm that day, and beads of sweat ran freely down her generous chest, past her navel, pooling at her womanhood.
Oh my God.
Her thighs, massive by all regards, yet smooth and supple. I love that the thighs are so massive by all regards, which in that game you
She's
really
got chunky thighs.
Yeah, but it just goes on, and let's just say the womanhood actually later on, it turns out, is not so much womanly as it is manly. It was a great one back and forth for role players in the GM, and the, you know, it's kind of caught fire in a lot of different role play spots just because of the way it went down. But that kind of also will bring us to our topic today, which is, how do you deal with trolls? And, you know, what the fuck is wrong with these people that they have nothing better to do their life than bother other people that have absolutely nothing to do with them? Yeah. We've all had an experience with them. If you've ever role played or you're planning to, it's going to happen. You know, there's those people, you know, and a lot of times it is things like this. You know, not everywhere is it going to be as bad as Black Desert, because you can, you can go around killing people if you really feel like it. And there's definitely ways to do that. It was fun, but it's also kind of annoying when you'd be out there and something like that would happen to that exact thing. So, you know.
Yeah, I remember in Conan it was like that at first. On the PvP, you could kill people in beta in the taverns. And we were all really excited about that, because those of us who are RPers who also PvP and PvP well, we're really looking forward to being able to kill trolls. But they took that away from us, and they wouldn't let us kill people in town anymore, which was kind very sad face.
Yeah. But yeah, and we've all definitely had that. You know, it's happened, you know, back in our EverQuest days. It happens in Final Fantasy, though a little bit less on Balmung, you know, because there are so many of them there. But even that, it still happens, and some of them are role players that troll other role players, which is they're the lepers, you know, of role play. Is just the worst of the worst.
That's bad.
Yeah, they're fairly rare, but you know, and so, you know, what would be the trolling that they do? A lot of people, they'll spam it so that you can't, you know, any massive role play, there's already enough chat spam just of people talking for real. But when someone, you know, just starts, you know, saying the same sentence, hitting enter, you know, up, enter up, enter up, and just spamming it, that makes it hard. Usually they'll do things like jump or stand in your character when you're sitting down or standing and talking away. And the one that's always fun is the combat moves, which, you know, just, you know, and sparkles shooting off everywhere. And so that's always a pain in the ass. But
some games you can put them on ignore, and you can no longer see their emotes, and you can no longer see what they say. But in some games you can still see their emotes, just not what they say.
Yeah.
And ignore doesn't even work, because then they just switch to emotes and do it that way. Thing. So I've always kind of struggled with that, because I mean, I just ignore them. That's my whole thing. I pretend they don't exist, and I try, and it's infuriating to me when you have people who will still talk to them, who will still address them and act like they're actually there, because all they're doing is giving them attention, and then
that's what trolls feed on.
Yeah, and the only way to get rid of a troll is to stop talking to them. And like the other day in ESO, when we were role-playing, there was a gentleman who was obviously trolling, but I didn't figure it out right away, because at first
sometimes it is hard, Yeah,
he started off, I thought he was just role-playing someone obnoxious, because as you know, that happens a lot. So I played along with it, and then I got like 4 tells that he was a troll, and then pretty soon he went into troll mode. largely because of me, because I addressed him and started talking to him. So that just kind of fueled the fire. He really just started losing it. Well, then, so I started ignoring him completely at that point, and he went away. But that brings up an interesting point with mini games. When is it trolling, and when is it just someone who either doesn't know how to RP or considers what they're doing RP even though it's not?
Yeah, I actually didn't even put that in our notes, but I had just thought of that when you said it, is trying to, that there are times where I honestly don't know if you're trolling or if you're just new to roleplay or you're just maybe really bad at it. I don't,
Yeah.
It is, I mean, after a while, I mean, if it becomes obvious, and especially like in that case when they're known trollers, most role players, unless they're just starting out their career as a brand new baby troll. Baby trolls.
Yeah, I mean,
sounds like a Pixar movie, but you don't always know. But in that case, they sent you tells. I remember doing that, in
and it's also important to
other
note
games
that
too.
The roleplay community has slowly started to catch on that you don't say it and say, you say it to tell, so that the troll can't see that you're talking about them. Instead, you just do it quietly and say you need to just ignore this person.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, when nobody responds, and I've had it happen too. I mean, we all have. I keep saying that, like, duh, I haven't already said it 15 times. But they'll stand in you, and if you don't, I remember a few times on Xanus and EverQuest, we'd be sitting at a table and somebody would like come up and like start like dancing in my face and stuff like that, and I just continue on with whatever conversation I was having, and eventually they get bored.
Yeah, because they're not going.
And even if they don't, it doesn't matter, because
it really
as long as you just RP that they don't exist, you're going to enjoy your roleplay better than to give them the credence that they want.
And it does aggravate the living hell out of me. I won't lie. I want to like hunt them down, and that line from Tommy Boy, I know where you live and I've seen where you sleep, and so help me God, your mother will cry when she sees what I've done to you. Yeah. I want to do that, but it doesn't really do
I think we all do. I think it's very, I mean, I have gone off, as you know,
and I've insulted
in our guild
them.
chat. Yeah. I've said in guild chat more than once, what the hell is wrong with someone who is so insulted by watching someone have fun that they feel that the only response that they can do is to ruin that?
Yeah.
What is wrong with someone like that? I mean, to me, it's psychologically kind of interesting to me, because how petty and small-minded do you have to be to do that?
Well,
I just don't get it.
The real funny part is, okay, I get we're role playing. We're it's somewhat juvenile. Yeah,
they think it's silly. I get that.
Yeah. But here's the deal: they're still playing a fucking online game, just like we are. The exact same thing. You think 10 years ago, people that played MMOs were looked on as the cool Fonzie kids in school? No, you're a fucking nerd. You're just as nerdy as we are. We're just a slightly smarter nerd. Jackass. But, it's we're playing video games, let's be honest. And I know, unlike 10, 15, 20 years ago, especially within the last 10 years, gaming has become very socially acceptable, just like the internet. I remember, 15 years ago, you talk about somebody, I was talking on a forum with a guy in Ireland, and we were talking Star Wars, and people are like, you're on the internet talking to other people? Oh my God, you're such a loser. Yeah, how's Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram treating you now? You're welcome, because that only happened because of assholes like me being there to help pave the way.
Yep. That is absolutely true. And I've also pointed out to people, 20, 30 years ago, you came home, you turned on the TV, you didn't turn it off until you went to bed. And people still do that. They watch sports or their stories or whatever.
Yeah, grandparents.
There's no difference between doing that and sitting down with the game and gaming. It's just a different way of passing the time that you find fun. It's no different than going to a quilting bee, which I would, stab my eyeballs out to go to. But I know some people really enjoy that, and I'm not going to make fun of them because they do something I don't enjoy.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds horrible.
A quilting bee? You don't know what a quilting bee is, really?
Unfortunately, I am a 30-something-year-old male that does not quilt, so no. And anything with the word bee in it makes me think of spelling bees, which I also sucked at, so thanks for bringing that memory back.
You're welcome. No, a quilting bee is much like a spelling bee, and that you all get together and do it. A bee used to mean that you all got together like in a circle, and they would all
like those bonnet,
don't say it,
like the bonnet movies.
Oh, okay.
What were you gonna think? What were you thinking I was gonna say?
I know you too well. I thought you were going down a very bad path.
I was going with the
All
Jane Austen bonnet movies. You know, the old women that are all in the circles.
Yes.
It's a you thought I was going to go with like a circle jerk, right? No. Yeah.
I didn't catch on until the very end of that. I was like, oh my God.
No, it did cross my mind.
Oh my gosh.
It was the low-hanging fruit. It's like making fun of Donald Trump. Okay, we get it. He's an idiot, but it's not that smart of a joke anymore.
Yeah.
Circle jerk.
So it's a circle. Now I'm doing it. God, shut up. A quilting bee is a quilting circle. It's where you all get together around a table and you work on the same quilt.
But you would rather do this. Yeah.
I would rather do this, but I know people that do it.
Yeah, well,
and it's fun for them. Or
like,
bowling. They all get together and they bowl.
It'd be like people it's like making fun of someone that watches NASCAR, even though really you actually have to have a shit ton of money to go to a NASCAR game, or someone that paints themselves up and go to a football. I think it's silly and boring, but whatever. Dude, you got the disposable income.
How they
go for it.
Spend their money and their time. That's it in a nutshell.
Whatever you do to have fun, to find your happy place, is fine with me. Even if you need to dress up in a furry costume and
until that activity is trolling other people for doing that.
Right. Then
there's teasing. Let's be honest. I've teased role players and role playing all the time. I'm part of it. It's I can make fun of handicapped people because I'm handicapped. Well, I can make fun of role players because I role play and I know my people. You are my people, and I love you for it. I really do. But
I jump off that wagon.
Yeah, no,
I don't want to be part of his people.
But so we'll go back. We're getting sidetracked there, which is a shocker. So I want to bring up tablecloth, which. If you don't know who tablecloth is, Jazz, I don't know if you've heard of this one.
I read your notes, but no, I have not.
Okay, so there's in Final Fantasy XIV, and this person actually has somewhat of a well-known name status, but their name is Tablecloth. They play a little Olafel, and what they do is they role-play being a tablecloth. And they'll actually go up onto a thing where people are role-playing, lay down, and that's it. And they'll just be like, they'll just describe being a tablecloth in the emotes. They don't spam other people. They don't call anybody names. It's a weird sort of thing. And of course, as would happen, some role players, especially the really, really kind of stuck up ones maybe, but even that at first, I would think just about anyone would kind of think that they were trolling. And they actually petitioned, and the GM came on and they were like, are you trolling them? And no, this is what I want to roleplay as. I created a character named Tablecloth to roleplay as a tablecloth. And because they go over the chat logs, all that stuff, there's nothing malicious or insidious in there, and there's nothing they can do about it. And there's pictures of Tablecloth all over Final Fantasy XIV roleplay sites and things like that. And they've got kind of a cult following now. Some people hate it and they think it's trolling. Other people love it. I kind of think it's funny myself, but it's a weird line that they've come up. Is it, it's just,
well, I would say that it probably is trolling, but it's the kind of trolling
that's cute. It's actually kind of a cutesy way,
and it's not something I'm going to get upset about. If that's what trips your trigger,
yeah,
fine. Whatever. That's like that guy. There was a guy in Guild Wars 2. I don't know if you remember him. That he RP'd as a Solari. But he was like all white and...
Was the Solari the chloroform people? Or not chloroform, chloroplast people? The plant?
Yes, they were the plant people.
Here, breathe me in.
Yeah.
Do I smell like chloroform to you?
Okay, this is going in weird places tonight. We've had the
anyway,
and chloroform.
I've had a lot of coffee.
So, anyway, it's kind of like that where... A lot of people considered him a troll. I never had a problem with him. He was never on ignore. Largely because, to me, even if I didn't agree with the roleplay, it was still roleplay. The tablecloth is still roleplay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't get it. I'm not gonna freak out about it. So it's like the same thing as furries and furry conventions. I don't get that either, but I don't hate them, and I don't have any problem with them as long as
I have to say I've seen some of the mechanical masks, and those are actually mechanically very impressive. The ones that are like also creepy as hell. It's like wearing a Chuck E. Cheese head animatronic on your head, but still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Still not gonna go anywhere near you or your convention. Sorry.
Yes, but I mean, I don't feel that they are necessarily trolls per se. Not like catching my son running in and blowing up people's houses just because he enjoys it cost him playing his game for a month, and me giving him a 45-minute lecture on trolling and why it is bad. So,
what game was he able to do that in?
Minecraft.
Oh, okay, that
I'm not surprised in that game.
There's nothing you
can
do in
encourages
Minecraft.
it, and I just felt that it was a line, and I was
gonna say that sounds like an awesome game. Yeah, that's Minecraft. Never mind.
Yeah.
No,
so go ahead.
Sorry. Well, I was going on the tablecloth thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if he started out as trying to learn to RP, or get kind of figure out how to do it. Because if you're on your own and you start RPing, it's difficult. You don't know all the ins and outs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it might come off as trolling, but I'm wondering if maybe he did it to start out.
Somebody just
but then,
thought it was a
like you said,
idea.
and then he got his cult following, and now it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that one.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and it's a kind of a unique case because we've seen lots of trolls in our day, but I've never seen anybody, because if it is a troll, they're in for the long haul. I mean, they're really sticking to it because this has been going on for months now. So it's not just like it was a flash in the pan, like 1 or 2 days a week. This is an ongoing thing. Excuse me, I keep trying to hiccup into the microphone, and that's awful. But yeah, it's just a weird case.
A lot of people do that whole get on the table thing, get it, because role players tend to gather in taverns, and much as we do as humans in real life, and socialize around tables and bars. And so it's kind of natural, if you want to stop them from RPing, you have to get in their faces.
Gets in their line of sight, just gets in their way. Yeah.
But reacting never gets you anywhere. And honestly, if it got really, really bad, all I would do would be to take a picture and petition. And most games won't do anything about it at all, but it never hurts to. If they get enough of them in a row, they may say something.
Yeah. They'll usually come on, especially some of them, like obviously BDO will respond because they have a pretty, the game for Up and Down actually has a pretty decent RP community that they've got all their ups and downs just like any one of them, but there's quite a few people on there because it is such a pretty game and it is such an open world, and the characters are not they're not going to make your eyes bleed out of your head like some games might. They're pretty and soft, supple. But it's got a good honest roleplay in their housing. That's the other thing too, is they unlike some games, they're housing, while the chat thing of it is really weird, how it will, you'll have multiple instances stacked on top of each other and the chat bleeds from one to the other because it's not actually instanced. Their housing is super easy to get and really easy to it's pretty intuitive. It's not always the easiest thing to decorate, but getting stuff for it and building your basic bar or tavern is really easy to do. So they've got a good community there for that. So it's kind of neat to see the GMs actually back
it is, and it's rare.
Very rare. Especially when they don't have roleplay servers.
Yeah, EQ stopped responding to petitions years ago.
Yeah.
But that was when housing and guild wars. Yeah, guild halls became a thing, and people were like, "Well, the reason that RP died in EQ2 is because of housing and because of guild." And I'm like, "No, actually, housing and guild war and the guild hall saved saved roleplay because
Mm-hmm.
the GMs had stopped responding to trolls, and we had no choice
Mm-hmm.
but to go private so that we could
Yeah.
get away from the trolls. That was necessary.
And that's very true, because I know whenever I was in EQ2, you would walk around the cities and you really wouldn't see any RP, but you go behind the scenes to houses and guild halls and you're talking, 20 people. I mean, we had an event, Ashen, how many people did we count? It was like 26 people
Mm-hmm.
at one of the ball functions we had in
Yeah.
EK2. So, I mean, it really made a difference with the trolling, getting people to have to go into the guild halls and stuff,
Mhm.
like you were saying, Jazz.
And also, the game idiots, the devs, sorry, let me be more specific, the devs that were idiots, removed the only public roleplay centers that the game had in the two main cities. So there wasn't, and the ones that they left were covered with NPCs that made noise and wandered and, everything else. It just made them completely unworkable. They did it on purpose. They will never convince me that it was just happenstance. They purposely removed the only place that people could roleplay openly because it was a trolling nightmare. And I think they got probably hundreds of complaints about trolls, so they just simply removed it thinking they'd make their lives easier. But it did damage the community because then we just went inward. We had no choice. And same with...
that was the slow death of a lot of things too, because as great as that is to be able to do that without the open role play, that's one of the things that really hurt ESO for me at the beginning, was the instancing and the cutoff on certain areas,
which is still an issue.
Yeah, because even in public taverns, there's only so many people that will fit before it starts to instance you into another one, which it seems to have gone up compared to what it was a while back. But
it's changed a lot. I know that gathering we had the other day at the Sisterhood of, it was like an Alkari desert, but there was like, what did I count, 14 of us there.
Yeah.
And there was, I didn't see any trolling there, which was nice. And but we did attract a couple people, just walked up and, asked about the group.
Yep.
But I mean, I guess.
Well, we do have the benefit of having a larger guild at this point. So when we all gather, we draw attention because there's so many of us.
Yeah.
But I'm newer to the gaming compared to you and Ashen, and I just don't see the trolling nearly as much.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of the changes in the way they're making the games. I don't know, but I'm not seeing it. I mean, I don't have any good stories about it. Like I'm sure you guys do.
Well, like last night we had a troll, like I said, but he wasn't. He just walked around being an idiot. It wasn't anything that you couldn't just chalk up to. There are always idiots in bars. Anyone that goes to one knows that. So.
Even in
real life. Can't get away from even real life. It's just what happens. So there's always some level of idiocy, and you just have to kind of roll with it. But I know that back in the day in EQ, flopping on the tables, or like in AOC, the genius move of the devs to give a pissing emote and vomiting that actually produces vomit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you can guess what the trollers used on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And I, back in the heyday of AOC, I finally just had a complete conniption fit over a petition about this guy. I took pictures of it, and I was just like, I don't know. I said, I hope I'm insulting I hope I'm speaking to the person that actually came up with this. But if not, you are a blanking idiot to come up with something like this. This doesn't help. This is just used, its only use is to insult people.
Yeah, to troll.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is. And that they discontinued that emote except outside eventually.
Yeah, which is funny too, because I don't even think you were, I don't know, you were there were you there at the beginning of EQ2?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Oh, well, not the first year.
Okay, so like the very beginning, because this was gone within days, was the slash rolling on the floor laughing my ass off, because your character would actually start laughing, grab their belly, and roll around on the floor. And the
Oh
reason
my goodness.
it was actually a really good emote, but the reason they took it out was extra dumb, because the reason they took it out was that due to the cloth mechanics, when the females were rolling around on the floor, it would show just a glimpse of undies.
Oh Lord, that's why they took it out.
Took it out. Yep.
That's hilarious.
And then
of course,
they put in things like vomiting.
Yeah, EQ's like the only game that I've ever played as an MMO that was that hyped up about modesty, that our characters had a neck to ankle dress on.
Yeah, it's the Amish of MMOs. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just hilarious. But they did take out the vomit appearance early on. Yeah. You just made the gagging gestures, but nothing happened.
But nothing spewed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny too, because there was a controversy back in, I think it was Silent Hill 2, an actual, Silent Hill was not an MMO, but still, there was a character that was vomiting into a toilet, and in a lot of places around the world, they actually had to cut the thing out, because it was quote unquote
so
too graphic.
Yeah.
And this is PS2 era too, so it's not exactly it's not as detailed as things today, like Horizon or Final Fantasy 15, and where it's super realistic. It was very blocky characters, but of course the story was amazing, because Silent Hill 1 and 2 were, then it kind of crashed. But okay, so we're only probably gonna go about another 10 minutes here, because we got some real life stuff to do, and that's one of our mottos for roleplay, is real life always comes first.
Yes.
Even especially when it involves the children's. Do it for the children. Shabao. Anyway, so we got an advertisement here. Go ahead, and always seem to have new ones every week. They're not always actually done very well, or even spoken well, or written well, or really worth even having. But we're going to keep doing them anyway, because we find them fun. So, here we go. Hello there. That was a terrible one. But when you're out fighting Stygian hordes, as long as I have been, there's only one thing more enjoyable than crushing your enemies, seeing them driven before you, and hearing the lamentations of their women. What is it, you wonder? Oiling up your corded muscles, of course. Never be caught at less than your best shining glistening self with Conan's full body baby oil, made from only the softest of your enemy's babies and squeezed from concentrate. Slather it upon your rippling pectorals and watch the ladies cease their pathetic lamentations and swoon at the blinding shine of your skin. Conan's full baby body oil. Go get it! Go get it now! Go! Hurry! Hurry now! Now there you go. Made from real life babies. That's always where baby body oil comes from.
Oh my gosh, you really need to do that for a living.
The problem is I would be destitute and hungry.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's all artists.
Yeah, and especially bad ones like that. That was one of the most inconsistent Schwarzenegger voices I think I've ever heard, and I was doing it. So.
I don't know. I thought it was funny.
Okay, well that's good. At least somebody's standards are low enough to enjoy it.
Yes, well.
Well, you are on the show, so.
Yeah, true.
I mean, look, we hang out with you. Our standards have to be low.
Pretty true. Yeah. You guys are so mean to me. So mean. Luckily, I have Conan's baby body oil to make myself shine. All right, so yeah, it's trolling. Unfortunately, is something that you're always going to have to put up with. It's just it's not just an MMO thing; it's an internet thing, and for the most part, at least unlike on things, a lot of things, you can actually do the /ignore, which does cut out, like you said, Jazz, most of it. It's just some games are too stupid to realize, like, hey, maybe when someone doesn't want to hear from somebody, they don't want to hear, like, their emotes or their tells or their says.
Honestly, I really think that if you ignore someone, their entire character needs to vanish.
That would be nice.
That's really how I look at it. I'm like, if I put someone on ignore, they should not even draw for me. I don't think that that's too much to ask.
Yeah, I wonder if
it wouldn't be hard.
Well, you say that, but we never know the tech. There's certain things. There's a certain level of challenge
to pulling that off, but I mean, they can do it within coding to some degree.
It would be a nice function.
It would, but I'll accept it if they would just make it so you can't do anything but see them physically standing there. But one of the things that they could do that would be really easy for them to do, which you've noticed a lot of games do right now, when you first zone in, all the characters are just like black silhouettes or a claymation kind of looking thing.
Yeah.
Well, why not do that when you put somebody on ignore? They're still technically in game, so the coding is still there. You just can't see their features.
Yeah.
They're just not really
there.
There.
For anybody out there, if you've not watched a show called Black Mirror, watch it. Because what it basically is, it's like a modern version of the Twilight Zone or Outer Limits. The whole premise of each episode, which the show started out as a British show and has now been, I think it got canceled, and now Netflix has picked it up. And while the newest episodes weren't as good as the original, they're still really entertaining and really interesting because it follows the progression of technology and like the downsides of it, like the liking things on Facebook. The one that you're talking about, Jazz, actually, apparently everybody had like a recording device, or there was one with a recording device in their eyes. I think this one was similar to that because some of their stuff is based on the similar aspects. And what happened was somebody was basically put on ignore. Like instead of
yes, I remember that episode.
Remember that? Yeah, he had done something, and his punishment for the restraining order was that if he saw this girl through the lenses in his eyes, it would basically, she was just a silhouette of static. He couldn't hear what she said. He couldn't see her. It was basically the same thing on her end, that she didn't have to see or hear him anymore. There was no way, even over phones and messages, it managed to blur them out.
That would be so fantastic. Oh my gosh.
The worst part I'm going to spoiler alert if you're going to watch these episodes, which they are fantastic, but the end of it is he gets accused of a serious crime, and he is blighted from everybody. He can no longer hear or speak to everybody he sees on the streets, hundreds of people, all static silhouettes. Yeah. And he's basically, they show him through other people's eyes, he's basically he's got a red outline around him showing that this person is red flagged and can no longer be spoken to in the population of anywhere.
So like shunning, but with electronic help.
He's shunned, but he still can do his day-to-day stuff. He's alone from here on out. Yeah. But that would be a kind of a neat thing too, to be able to just see the silhouette, so that you at least know that they're around, and they're probably, that way you're not like, who the hell is everybody talking to? You've got this guy on ignore, and everyone's like, hey, how's it going, Steve? And you're like, where's Steve? Yeah.
So in that sense, I think that the silhouette would be a compromise that would do really well. But that's just a pipe dream, at least for now. I think just cutting them off so that I don't have to see their emotes or see what they have to say is best. But I have honestly, at this point in time in my life with RP, I have just gotten to the point where I just mentally ignore people. So I don't even see them. And after a while, you get pretty good at it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't even register when they're talking, when they're doing anything. They just simply don't exist.
Yeah,
and it's actually probably better for me overall.
Yeah, and it really does seem like it's just because MMOs have gotten bigger and better over the time period, so there's more people, but it's not as big a problem as it used to be, and especially if you're on roleplay servers, you still get them, but a lot of some places will really crack down on them like that Black Desert did.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well, I think a lot of games are starting to understand that it's a form of bullying, and that it has to be stopped because it escalates. It always escalates.
Yeah, and that role-playing is no longer a silent, minority of your player base. It's growing.
That a lot of
huge.
people role-play, at least in some level,
Mm-hmm.
in MMOs. I mean, they may not interact with other people, but they still pretend to be that character. So role-play is multi-dimensional, and honestly, the only time at this point that I even feel a need to report someone is if it turns into sexual harassment or sexually based crap.
Right. Yeah.
That's about the only time that I will take a screenshot.
If they get really, really bad. If they're just like even the one like in that article, the death to role players, okay, whatever, but it's when they start getting really, really nasty, but that stuff happens, and that's especially these days, and rightfully so. I'm not gonna say like, yeah, it's only on the internet. Look how she was dressed. She had it coming. She was an elf and her boobs were hanging out. I mean, come on. There's never an excuse. I mean, it's one thing in role playing when you're doing stuff like that. But that for one, better fucking get consent first. And two, if you're just being a troll and you're being, like, hey, Tits McGee, it's just stop. Just stop before you start, because that is definitely a violation of, the terms of service, and you're not gonna be on the good end of that carrot. You're probably gonna have to stick up your ass.
I do think we are probably going to see less of it as time passes, simply because the bullying concepts are growing socially, and people are doing more to stand up and say, this is the line. And whether it's a game or it's walking down the street, you don't get to do that anymore. I mean, let's be honest. 20 years ago, if somebody whistled at you, they'd be like, flattered. You should be glad. You should be flattered. Yeah, probably. But instead of seeing it for what it is, and I think as that changes socially, we'll see more of that, less of that in games. Shut up.
No, I'm sorry. I was thinking of your point is absolutely right. I was thinking there was a video I saw a while back where it was construction workers catcalling to women, but what they were saying was appropriate. They were like, "You're a beautiful woman who is probably smart and intelligent, and you deserve to get everything that a man does. Have a nice day."
Wonderful.
It was like, I love the way your shoes look. They match your outfit very nicely. But they're catcalling all these like, appropriate. Your hair looks wonderful today. I hope you have a wonderful evening. It's like,
I'm gonna bow out right here and just say goodbye real quick, and I'll just see everybody in 2 weeks.
See ya.
Be good.
See ya, baby.
Have fun. Bye.
Right, bye.
But that's pretty much where we're at. It's just one of those things you got to learn to deal with. You got to take it in stride and go from there.
And understand that yelling at them in tells, calling them names and say, or in parentheses or anything like that really doesn't do anything to make you into an idiot. So
especially using the parentheses, because let's be honest, they're not role players. They don't care if you're using parentheses or not.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
They don't care. I mean, I've even stopped using it when I'm like leveling, because I usually level OSC anyway. So
I do too.
I'm out there. I'm not really in character. I'm just leveling up.
Yeah, if it's me and you and we're doing, that's if you're there with your role play group, that's one thing. But if we're there and we're just like we were the other day, we're just plowing through shit because it's double XP. Get it done.
I had that happen. This guy came up and started talking to me, and I just talked to him, and my son was in the room, and he's like, "You didn't use parentheses," when the person walked away, and I said, "I'm not in character, so I don't need to." Besides, that guy doesn't know. This guy is using leet speak. He's obviously not a role player.
He's not gonna care.
I was just he didn't care that I'm using parentheses.
A little bit of common sense on that stuff does go a long way, because not everybody you run into is going to be a role player, and they're not all trollers. I've known lots of people that they'll make fun of role players, but they do it lightheartedly. They don't actually. There's no vitriol. They're just like, you know.
Like I had a guy who
nerd.
said he asked me about my name in game because it's not like, you know, Trolls for Us or Red Light Blue Helmet or something. You know, they come up with some really hilarious names. Or like my boyfriend. God dang it.
Your man
person
child?
I know, man child named Ballistic Pancake. And I'm like, that's a really funny name.
So which one is he, your husband or your boyfriend?
Shut up. I don't know what's wrong with my mouth
Totally.
today. I have been like saying the weirdest. Did that just come out of my mouth? I haven't had coffee in way too long. I think my brain is starting to rebel.
That was funny. I was like, that doesn't sound like something Triton would come up with. And
no, not even close.
I've never met your boyfriend. Does Triton know?
Yes, he does.
Dang it.
Nice try.
I know. But all right.
But yeah, he asked me about the name, and then I explained that I was a role player, and he was really curious because he didn't even know what it was. Yeah, it's been a while since I had to explain what role play was.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of people out there that are it doesn't.
And he didn't think it was bad. He thought it was interesting, and he was like, "Can I join your guild?" And I'm like, "Well, you can if you're a role player, and if you're willing to be a role player." And he said, "Well, I don't know anything about it." So I sent him to our website, and I said, "Go ahead and take a look."
Yeah, take a look.
You know, he was like, "You're really nice," and I was like, "I like try to be nice."
We try to be, yeah. There's nothing better to get people to try that hobby that you're interested to, and like being a dick. Isn't that right, gun owners?
Yes. You're gonna get in trouble. You know that, right?
Hey, I am a gun owner, but I tell you what, there's nothing. You're not. Don't get me started. I love. Don't get me. I love guns and I love shooting. But to see some of the people when you're watching a video online, they're like, "Hey, you weren't," you know, they just, it's like anything that the armchair quarterbacks that just nitpick at every little thing. And it's the same thing with role players,
which I don't have an issue.
Which will be a later thing, the elitist role playing, because that, I'm sure that will probably hack several people off when we get into that, because in I think some ways we've probably all have certain elitist tendencies in a way, but that'll be
I certainly do.
Yeah,
I have to fight
certain
that
expectations.
Yeah,
but
I hold people to a pretty high regard, and I
but there's a difference between having a high standard and forcefully pushing it on anybody, and to the point of blackballing them if they don't adhere to your standards and expectations, which you know, we've had talks on that, and that would probably be what was it when we were talking in ESO with shit, I forgot his name. Was it Tyron? Forgot how to pronounce his name. Typhon. When he was talking about a few other MMOs he'd been in, just the way that certain people come across, you know, that the cliques, which there's nothing wrong with the clique. We are all in a clique. Jazz and I have been role playing forever. If it's a lot of people, we'd be a pretty tight clique. I mean, it's a clique of 2 people and our close role play friends too, but it is a clique in its way, and cliques aren't in themselves bad. A clique is bad when you, like Typhon was saying, try to interact with those people as they're role playing, and they shun you or tell you like, "No, we're doing our own thing. You need to go away." We would never do that, and if I ever saw one of our friends do that, I would ream them, because that is not the way to do things. You always, you know, you can bow out, or you can have to shuffle it off, or you could just let them know, "Hold on a second," or you know, but you don't ignore somebody, and you sure as heck don't do like what happened to me in Star Wars, Old Republic. 2 people having a fight in the middle of a busy passageway, and they're like, "No, we're in a dark alley. You guys can't be here and interfere with this." It's like, all right, well, you're stupid.
No, you're in the middle of the concourse.
Yeah, you're between you and every NPC that gives a quest is you guys. So. But yeah, it's just we'll get all that stuff sooner or later. But trolling it's just one of those things you're gonna have to get used to, and you know, it's not too hard to deal with it. You know, you just have to be patient, and it's not always easy.
Patience,
I mean, I'm gonna lie, it's pissed me off. There was some in EverQuest 2. I forget his name. It was a lizard guy, and I don't know how eventually he got accepted into the whole roleplay community, but he
Oh,
started out
him.
as a troll, Cordion or Cordillonian.
Cordion or whatever his name is.
He was a fucking troll. You know, he was just a kind of a shitty person. I don't know if that changed later on, if he had a change of heart.
He was an ERPer, and I think that a lot of people consider that RP, and so they kind of folded him into it, and he got accepted.
At the very beginning he was standing on tables and doing all the same crap we always talked, but that was another form of elitism because he was such a high-level character. He thought that if he could slash duel anybody, that made his position right, which is like, well, that works great in Game of Thrones with trial by combat, but this is not Game of Thrones, and that's just stupid. What it tells me is you've had a lot more time to play than I have, and that doesn't really mean that doesn't mean you're right or, you know, wrong necessarily. It does mean he was wrong, though, because he was always wrong. He was just a bad person. If
I don't know if he was a bad person or
not.
No,
I know he actually, I just made up that he actually killed 18 Cuban children just to watch them die. Yeah.
I see.
That was,
see, I don't know. All I know is that he was a bully to my friends and thought he was better than everybody because he had gazillion hours to play and most of us didn't. And I didn't.
Yeah, and I never begrudge people that have, because there's been times where you've been able to play like way more than me, and while I was jealous, I never begrudged you for it. You know, I try not to begrudge people for, you know, the things that they have that I don't, especially when it comes to the most valuable commodity for most people, time, which is really easy to do when you don't have a job or you're living with your parents, like a lot of people do sometimes.
Or you're on disability, or you
you're on disability. Yeah, there's legitimate reasons, but I'm going to go with the parts where they're douchebags too.
I think that there are a lot of people in MMOs in general who have a lot more free time than others, and then they use that to lord it over onto people, and that also a lot of trolls are like that. They're they're majorly geared.
They're compensating for a lack of something else in their life as well.
And they're bored, and so they're just being a jerk because they can. And I don't hate them per se. I just don't want them to be anywhere near me, and that's how come I will report them if it turns nasty, and I have zero regrets about doing so and getting them banned for a day or two because of their behavior.
Yeah, and that's perfectly, and, you know, that's how it goes. But yeah, a lot of, you know, and those are topics I definitely can't wait to hit on, probably when we have more people and some more interaction with things on, you know, because things like disabilities and stuff, MMOs are and a role player is a fantastic way for people that can't necessarily leave the house without aid, or they've got psychological health or psychological fears or phobias, or they're very introverted and they don't do well out in public spaces. This is, you know, it's a really good place for them. And then there's some people that are just assholes. So, yeah. It kind of works always. Yeah. There's those people that are, you know, and we've known several of them. We know several of them. And then there's those same exact people that just take that and the fact that they've somehow managed to not have to work or this or that, and then they use that time, instead of helping, you know, involve other people and teach people how to do things, they manipulate. And because, like we said, there's roleplay trolls. And we've seen them, and I know we're already about 10 minutes over where we wanted to be, but, you know, we've seen those people that manipulate. It's a far more insidious way of trolling, I think, than even the standard troll that you're thinking of, is getting other people to bend to your will and try to change things of your own role play, and so for their benefit over that of yours and that of your own enjoyment, and lock you into this. And they know they play on your fears and things like that, and just to get you to bend to their will, you know. And we've seen it. I know you have, and I know you've seen it several times. And these people get almost a cult-like following of people, and I would almost call them sycophants. And then when something comes about, they drop them like they're, you know, fucking used up toilet paper. And, you know, then they're just left there feeling hurt and dejected. It's awful. I hate seeing it, but there's a, it's unfortunately with those kinds of trolls, you can't warn people, because when like I said, it's like a cult. When you're in that warm fuzzy embrace of their favor, everything seems golden, and as soon as either something's going to come to bite them on the butt that they did, and you're their scapegoat, and you're going to take the fall for them. It's the
Yep.
it's the he beats me because he loves me kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Not to play light on spousal abuse, but it is that mentality of the he it was my fault. I deserve that. I made him do that, or I made her do that, or whatever. 'Cause let's be honest, women are pretty manipulative. It's very rarely a dude that I'm speaking of. I'd say 75% of the time it's been a woman that's managed to drag people along, because as men on the internet, we're weak. We're very, very weak.
I didn't say it.
Yeah, well, you know full well what I mean. It's just, it's like, for one, you don't have a chance. She's in another state. And two, you're one of 10. You're like a Borg. You're just one of a dozen, that's being strung along and played against each other, and it's
often, yes, that's very much the case.
It's a horrible form of trolling, but that's not exactly the kind we were speaking of. That actually kind of goes in more to the elitism thing too. So yeah, but I think we pretty good at leaving it there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Until next time.
So let's see here. Got our last little lines in here. I want to thank everyone for listening, of course. You can contact us at rpmmoradio@gmail.com, facebook.com/rpmmoradio, or Twitter at rpmmoradio. Basically, any form of those social media things is rpmmoradio, if you're not catching the kind of
the trend.
The trend there. Yeah, it's so. But put that there, and so that'll do it for today. That'll be episode 5 plus 5 to trolling. So tune in next week when we discuss lightsabers. Is it true what they say about the length of a Jedi's lightsaber being equal to other areas? Are they truly Jedi on the street and Sith in the sheets? Find out next time on RPMMO Radio. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by RPMMO Radio are just that, and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great rock covers.